as the chairperson.
Well, hello, Carlisle. The St. Michael's Concours Elegance, sponsored by Jaguar Land Rover North America and Jaguar Land Rover of Annapolis. We are now in our 14th year. This year we were lucky, we had tremendously nice weather. We had well over 2,000 folks come and enjoy the day at the Inn at Perry Cabin in the Chesapeake Bay Maritime Museum. It's interesting, it's folks bring their cars from all over. We had basically roughly about $100 million worth of cars in St. Michael.
Hi, this is Michael and Sharon from Wilmington, North Carolina, and we're here at the Concours d'Elegance in in St. Michael's, Maryland. Tell us about your Model A Ford.
All right, this is Bonnie, our 1929 Model A Ford. I got this car from a widow that had her husband and her son rebuilt cars, Model A's, for a living for people. This was one of their personal cars, and they were sold. Now I have the two of them, and this one I think was the father's car. And when it was found, there was a tree growing up right where we're sitting. And I've been involved in rebuilding these since I was 13 years old. My dad bought a 30 coupe, and we worked on it together.
Since I don't know that much about cars, tell me, how much gas does this Model A hold?
This car holds 10 gallons of gas. The gas tank is right up here. In fact, if you look in that's the actual fuel gauge. So right behind this firewall is the fuel tank.
And how many miles do you get per gallon?
I don't calculate miles per gallon. I calculate miles per mile.
Oh, how adorable. Well, thanks so much, you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Joe and Karen from Cape May Courthouse, New Jersey.
Yes.
At the Concours d'Elegance, and you're going to tell us about this racing car of yours. Could you tell us about it, please?
Yes, ma'am. It's a 1920 Ford Model T Speedster. It's the number 5 race car. It raced early on in California. It did endurance races. So she raced 250-mile races around the countryside in California. So she's more equipped to be a race car than it would be in the example next to us, like a stock Model A that would come out of the factory. It might have left the factory that way, but then sometime afterwards got basically all rebuilt to be a race car.
Well, Joe, I was asking you, when the cars were manufactured, were there cars that were manufactured to be race cars, and your answer was?
No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
So they were manufactured to be an example like you see next to us, the Model A, and sometime afterwards people would have gotten the inspiration to go ahead and build a race car from a stock Model T in this case.
That's really cool. Well,
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
You got it. Thank you.
Hi, this is Joe from Euclid, Pennsylvania. Joe, tell us about your car, please.
This car belonged to my father.
Aww.
My father worked at a textile mill in Massachusetts, and this car belonged to the owner of the mill. The mill owner lived in New York somewhere, and he would leave it in the mill and just take it out of the mill and drive it around town when he would come to visit the mill. In 1955, they shut the mill down and moved the operations down south where the labor was a lot cheaper. My father had the opportunity to buy this car. So this car belonged to the mill owner, and it would stay in the mill all the time until the mill owner came and visited the car. In 1955, they shut the mill down, and they got rid of everything in the mill, including this car. My father needed a new car because I remember the car we had before this was a 1939 Chevrolet.
Oh my gosh.
And it was in bad shape. He needed a new car. So I remember the story. I was only about 8 years old at the time. But I remember my father approaching the supervisor and saying he needed a new car, but he only had $500 to spend. And the supervisor said, "You're not going to get this car for $500. It's only 4 years old." So he said, "Well, you know, we don't have anything to lose." He says, "I'll send a telegram to the owner in New York and see what he says." So several weeks went by, and one day the supervisor called my father into the office and said, "You have a car for $500. And before my father bought it, he took it to his mechanic to have it checked out. And when the mechanic saw it, he said, "Go pay for it before they change their mind." Because it was brand new. It had very, very few miles on it. So that's a story that, and then we used this as a family car until my father died in 1970. I got stored in my barn for about 10 years. until I decided I was either going to get rid of it or restore it, and then I restored it, and here it is.
That's an awesome story. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
This is Fran Bailey from Middletown, Delaware. Fran, could you tell us about your car here at the Concours?
Well, it's a 1967 Chevy 2. It's an all-original car. I bought it from the first owner, and it's done a lot of Concours shows and a lot of regular shows.
One of the signs that's on your car says that it's the original paint. It's amazing to me that it could have original paint.
It is probably well over 95% original paint.
Wow. And then how do you do touch-ups on that?
You don't. You don't take it anywhere where it's going to get hit or anything. It's just a lot of work, hour after hour, keeping things waxed and polished, and so if something does hit it, it doesn't get nicked or whatever.
And what year was your car?
1967.
1967. Was that a good year for cars?
I would say so. The 60s were a good year for everything.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much, Fran.
All right, thank you.
This is BJ and James at the Concours d'Elegance here in St. Michael's. And if you could tell us about your Cadillac, please.
Okay. Go ahead, BJ.
Tell us about Cadillac.
This is a 1941 Cadillac Series 62. It is, for the most part, an all-original car. Runs and drives, power top, automatic, first year for the automatic.
This car was in a collection. It's been sitting about 5 years, and the owner passed, and our current client actually bought the car and wanted to get it running and driving and stopping, and needed some help doing that because it's been sitting for some time. So he found us, and we just took on the job of getting the car recommissioned for the road safely. What's really cool about this car is an automatic for 1941. It's a little unusual, and have a power top for it, but it's a really great cruising car. Just a lot of fun to drive, and it's a classic 1941. We were entering the war, so it was a really important time for America, and this is the car that Cadillac offered at the time. So it's a really stunning drive. We are just recommissioning the car and getting it road ready. So
Awesome. Thanks so much.
yeah.
Hi, this is Clara and James from Bowie, Maryland, and you're going to tell us about this incredible now say, is it Jaguar, or how do you say it?
Jaguar.
Jaguar.
So it's a 64 Jaguar S-Type, 3.8 with 4-speed with overdrive and a dash, and it's the last month of the last year with a Moss non-synchro gearbox.
What does that mean?
It means you have to stop before you can put it in first gear. And it makes a big crunch sound every time you put it in gear.
Does that make it more valuable?
No, it's just another quirk to the car.
Is this the first Jaguar that you've had?
No, I had an XK or E-Type out of college, and back then they were, $5,000–6,000, and I was underneath it for more than I was driving it, but it was a nice time. We were dating in the XKE.
So it's sentimental.
Yeah, so that was a 70 Series 2 XKE 4-speed.
Well, this is some kind of phenomenal car. Thanks so much.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Hi, this is Steve from Missouri. Tell us about your car, Steve. This is incredible.
This is a 33 Isotta Fraschini, built in Italy. This one we've known history from day one. It started out as Isottas and Castagna, the coach builder. It was both of their show cars for the 1933 Paris Auto Salon. Then it came to the States. A fellow named Joe Penner was the first owner of this car. He was the vaudeville star that got famous with one line: "You want to buy a duck?" And then it sold to Pacific Auto Rentals, and it was used in 8 different feature movies. We've got pictures of Fred Astaire in this car, and Claudette Colbert, and John Wayne, and a variety of others. It's best known as being the car that James Dean drove in the movie Giant.
Wow. Well, tell me something. Cars were made, really spiffy cars were made in Italy at the same time that really spiffy cars are made in the United States. Was there any correlation between the two?
Oh, I guess wealthy people wanted fancy cars no matter where they were, I guess.
But they were coming up with all of the know-how to put these cars together at the same time that we were?
They were. Several different camps. Back in the 30s, there was probably 4,000 or 5,000 different automobile manufacturers in the world.
Oh, wow.
So a lot of technology was being explored and invented during that time frame.
And was there any sharing of that technology?
Oh, not like today. There was no internet or anything like that.
Wow. Well, this is a special car. Thanks so much for sharing.
We're proud to be here.
Hi, this is Bob from Savannah and David from Glen Rock, Pennsylvania. And we're here at the Concours d'Elegance in St. Michael's, Maryland. Please tell us about this wonderful car you all have here.
Well, I'll start off if I can. This is a 1938 Mercedes undercarriage and a 1938 Swedish by Norman body. It was put together between 37 and 38 for a Swede, a quite famous Swede by the name of Max Gumpel. Max had been an Olympic swimmer for Sweden. He was very well off, and he ordered this special car with a special body because he needed a wider car than the normal Mercedes 540K. And he needed a wider car because his live-in girlfriend was Greta Garbo, and Greta had friends as well. So if you look inside the car, you'll see that it has 3 seats in the front, unlike other Mercedes that have 2 seats in the front. The car is really quite special. It has 2 batteries, 2 12-volt batteries, because winters in Sweden, particularly outside of Stockholm, could be pretty fatal if you got too far out and couldn't get back.
Oh my gosh.
It also has a 60-gallon fuel tank.
Excuse me, can I hold you up for 1 second? What do the batteries do?
What is the battery?
Yeah.
The battery is used to start the car and power everything when the engine's not running.
Well, why 2?
2, because if you got outside, turned the engine off and went back to your car and it wouldn't start, you would want another battery as a safety backup. So this car has lots of backups, and the batteries, the 2 12-volt batteries are a part of that. Another backup is the very large 60-gallon fuel tank, because if you went out of Stockholm in the winter and you ran out of gas, there was no walking back. It was too cold, the snow was too deep, and you probably wouldn't make it. So it has a fuel tank that's quite unique that has 60 gallons, 30 on one side and 30 on the other. So if you ran out of gas, you also could go to the other side and you had 30 to get you back. So Max was a very cautious guy, needless to say. He was also a diplomat, and if you look at the front of the car, you'll see it's flying the Swedish flag, which was a diplomatic flag in its day. And if you look at the license plate, it's an A54. A is for the royal family, and 100 and down were reserved for the royal family as well. So the car Max used as a diplomatic car, and it has a siren as well. So if you couldn't see the flag, you sure could hear the siren, and that moved traffic around. So the car has great history. We got the car in, all the parts were here, and it was in pretty good shape. And then I turned it over to a very special guy in Glen Rock, Pennsylvania. And I said, David Pruitt, make it perfect.
Aww.
And he's made it perfect, and I'm so grateful to him. And he just happens to be standing here with me.
Well, isn't that wonderful?
What an introduction.
Now don't fumble it.
Right, yeah. I told you this was the right guy to interview.
Really?
Yeah. So I have a restoration business, antique car restoration business in Glen Rock, Pennsylvania, and was started by my father. We've been in business since 1974, and we loved working for Bob. He was a great customer, and we're looking forward to doing some more work for him in the future.
Well, you have a great car here, you guys. Just an awesome story. Thanks so much for sharing.
Well, Greta is happy with the car. Max is happy to see the car still alive. And I am really happy to own and see the car still alive. Thank you so much. Enjoyed chatting with you.
Luke, tell us about how somebody goes about getting in their car. What requirements are necessary for a car to get into the
Well, we
Concours?
have specific classes of automobiles that we call these classes in advance. So many of the folks that come to our event are sent invitations. Some actually apply online with an application, and we try to fit all the cars in that are of the class and quality for a Concours d'Elegance. Those that do not have a specific class, we have those cars on display at the Chesapeake Bay Maritime Museum, which we call the Chesapeake Bay Motoring Festival, which it's nice because we can have sponsors and sponsors tents there, and it allows for two specific venues with two actually events going on for one single price.
And the amount, it's staggering, the value of the cars that you have.
It truly is. We had, for example, a $16 million Ferrari race car from the 1950s, generously brought by J.W. Marriott Jr. Everything from a 1936 Mercedes-Benz 540K. These are extremely rare automobiles that are really rolling works of art. And we just can't thank the town of St. Michael's enough for being so hospitable to us in our entrance these last 3 years.
And you were saying to me that the winners will then, or potentially will then, go on to national venues. Could you talk about that, please?
Yes, we have a history. For example, several folks that have won Best in Show in St. Michael's, they get invited to events such as the Amelia Island Concours d'Elegance and the Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance. I know of two of our automobiles that have won awards in St. Michael's and been invited to Pebble Beach, and I believe one won second place only for a technicality, and another one best in their class, a local Packard. So it really is a competition of elegance, and Concours d'Elegance comes from the motoring shows and carriage shows of the turn of the century and the Parc de Paris. It was a way for the gentlemen to pick out their carriage coaches at that time when the new models came out, and the wives would have participation in the fabrics and the interiors. Hence the reason why many times Concours d'Elegance have a fashion show as well. We try to pair the fashion to the period with the automobiles of that period and the type of class and elegance that is shown at the Concours d'Elegance.
Well, these cars truly are works of art.
They really, truly are, and it's really a dying breed. A lot of our members and entrants that come are well into their 80s and 90s. We've been fortunate, though. This year we've had a resurgence of younger folks come that hopefully the generations will follow. Hence, our beneficiary. Our beneficiary is the Classic Automobile Association's local student chapter. These are young men and women that show an aptitude and interest in our hobby, and we provide them educational opportunities and scholarships to carry on our tradition.
So the next event will take place in September of next year?
Yes, our 14th annual St. Michael's Concours d'Elegance will be the weekend of September 25th through 27th here on Maryland's Eastern Shore.
It's truly a remarkable event.
Thank you for saying.
Thank you.